Hi, everyone. Welcome to Clutch Entertainment today. And today we're going to be talking about you can do as an adult that you did as a kid. There's a big list of things that, I even like to go back on and look back as what I did as a kid. And just like what I like to do to have fun, just think of that one thing that you grew up with that you're like, oh, I remember doing that. That was really fun. That's something I really enjoyed. And, we're in the busyness of life. We have lots of stresses in our lives. We have, bills to pay. We have stressors like people causing drama in our lives. We have stressors of, relationships with others. We have issues with, maybe some driver cut you off on the road. Maybe somebody hurts your feelings. Maybe someone is not being truthful to you and you're hurt. And there's just a lot of different things that can affect you, that can cause you to feel bad, feel sad, feel unhappy. And sometimes it's just the regular thing of going through everyday life, and you're just in that same pattern over and over and over again. You're stuck. And it's just something that, we gotta look at and say, you know what? I should be like a child again. I should do the things I did when I was a kid when I actually had fun. And a lot of things that we did do as a kid, we did have fun. And I feel like a lot of things we do affects like we forget a lot of that stuff because we have all these responsibilities. We have all these things that we're focusing on, and it's really putting us in a situation where we're like, man, I could really do more and have more fun. So I'm going to talk about some things you can do, and we're going to go through each thing. And, maybe you remember any of these things, and maybe you end up, probably doing some tonight when you watch this video. So let's start off here with one of the big classic things that I used to do growing up is playing catch outside. That was really fun that I like to do. Just take a tennis ball, take your baseball mitt, and just play catch with somebody. That's always just a classic thing to do. You could even play little games with it, like some called Hot Box, where you have a runner that goes between two bases that goes back and forth. And when that runner goes back and forth, you try to tag him out by just playing catch and, tagging him with your glove. Another thing you do, is play with your old Hot Wheels, like your old cars that you grew up buying at Walmart for 99 cents, and just collecting those little Hot Wheel diecast cars. They're really fun. Maybe you have like a favorite car and you currently drive it, and then you want to get that model at the store and collect them. So that's something you can do, collect them. You can always play with your old Pokemon cards and collect them, or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or some kind of like trading card game you did growing up. I know I play with my I play Yu-Gi-Oh cards sometimes with my friends, and I just play online because like it's something I grew up with, and it's a really fun game for me. I would say also, another thing you can do is play an old board game or play some old video games that you have. Super Mario is a lot of fun. All the old Mario Karts are fun. Playing Legend of Zelda, playing old Halo games on your PC. There's just a number of different things you can do to get back and playing your old games. If you own the games, just get an emulator and play them on your computer. As long as you own the game, way, yeah, just go back and play some old games, and maybe it's something that you're like, hey, I haven't played this game in a long time, So another thing, open your old photo albums, look at your old photos and family photos, or watch your old family videos. I find myself going back and looking at all those things sometimes, and I'm just like, wow, this is really neat. This is something that like I forgot completely about. Rekindling those memories really brings a lot of joy into your life, and being like, yeah, I remember how happy I was then, and what I did, and just looking at all the family events over the years, like that can really make you feel good, and it can really rejuvenate yourself and refresh yourself and be like, man, that was a great time in my life. Like I can do similar things to that these days, and I've accomplished a lot in my life. Like giving that yourself a sense of accomplishment too, that really helps too, along with looking back at those memories. Another thing you can do is, set goals that you did as a child that, you can accomplish now. Maybe you wanted to grow up and you wanted to be able to own a bike, or you wanted to own like a motor scooter, or you wanted to own a moped, or you wanted to go out and, go karting or something. Like do that thing you wanted to do as a child that you weren't allowed to do. That's something fun, you know. Just be safe, of course. You want to go to like maybe a place that has safety equipment or purchase the safety equipment, or maybe it's a sport you always wanted to play. Play on a sports team and play in an environment with when you're with a bunch of people, and that's something you can do too. You know, maybe another thing is maybe learning a new sport. Learning new sport means, you know, picking up new rules and picking up, you know, new experience, and your brain actually loves enjoying new experiences, so it helps you to overall get that joy and excitement. Another thing you can do is, you know, watch old cartoons. I remember growing up watching Channel 11, which was WB, and I used to watch every Saturday morning, like Pokemon, Jackie Chan, Yu-Gi-Oh, Batman Beyond, Batman, Superman, Cubics. There was just so many different good shows out there. Even like SpongeBob on Nickelodeon, or any of those other shows, you know, that were really fun. And then there's stuff on PBS too that I watched, like Arthur and Zaboomafoo and Wishbone. There's just so many different shows that, you know, you watched as a kid and you really enjoyed, and you can always go back and look at them. Maybe they're not necessarily on TV anymore, but you can go to streaming services and look online, or maybe purchase some DVDs on Amazon or something of the old movies and videos that you used to watch or shows you used to watch. So that's another thing you can revisit. You know, and then as a person, you know, you can just be goofy, have a sense of humor, you know, joke around with people. Um, you can always rekindle with some old friends. Rekindling with some old friends is always great. You can look back and be like, hey, I used to hang out with this guy. Let me give him a call up and see how he's doing. It's been, you know, maybe 20 years since I've seen him as a kid, or 30 years as a kid, or 40 years as a kid. You know, even if you're middle aged, you know, check with somebody you spent time with. You know, you never know. Like you may rekindle a really good friendship. You may, you know, help someone out if they're like, hey, I'm feeling kind of lonely. Maybe like reaching out to them, you know, maybe makes you feel better, makes them feel better. Just gives you that sense of like purpose again, and enjoyment, and you can remember all the times you spent with that person and been like, yeah, we had a great time. You know, you never know. You never know, it could spark a friendship. Another thing you can do is, you know, make a play, or like a show. Write a play or show, or even write a book, you know, of a story, and then present it to yourself. I remember as a kid writing all kinds of stories and plays for myself, and just ending up, you know, maybe acting them out, or maybe if you have a wife and children, you know, you can even, you know, make your own skit or play, and then have it, um, and record it, and then show yourself it, you know, 20 more years down the road, or 10 years down the road, and be like, that was a funny play I wrote. That was something that I really enjoyed. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, ways to make a story or a play. And then I would say another thing, you know, is dance around and sing or whistle. You know, you can always do karaoke, or you can, you know, whistle around like, you know, just like a bird, or even make funny noises. You know, there's a lot of different ways to express yourself, and do some of the things as a kid. Um, I remember also, you know, reading old books. You know, besides writing a book, you know, reading a book. There's some old books I used to read, like old hockey books, or old story books, old weather facts. That was a lot of the stuff I read, but personally, like, you know, looking back at all that stuff, it really is nice. And then I would also say, you know, on top of everything else, you know, the biggest thing is, as you know, a kid being an adult, you look forward to, oh, I can be an adult, I can do everything. But as an adult, you look back and you're like, man, I wish I could be a kid again. So I would say the biggest thing, like I was just talking about, was look forward to every day. Look forward to, you know, being able to try something you haven't tried in years, be able to do something you haven't done in years, and look back at your childhood and be like, what made me happy? What gave me that excitement, you know? And if you have an idea of that, you're able to, you know, go back and do that, and really enjoy it. I remember like looking back, and I used to play like even handheld, like little handheld games I bought at the store. That were like little Mario games or something like that, and they were really fun. They're just little handhelds in the toy section. I can't remember what they weren't actually video games, but they were like something like that. And just having those little gadgets, and playing those old games, or um, having things that you used to do and it was really fun and you really enjoyed it. Just going and looking back and doing some of those things, it's really awesome. Even ask your brothers, your siblings, your friends, like, do you remember what we used to do? Um, just bringing you back with those memories and bringing you back to that situation um, really helps you to revamp yourself, refresh yourself, and allows you to enjoy some things you haven't enjoyed in a while. And then I would say like the last thing I would say is, you know, when you grab all these activities and you do all these things, share it with, a wife, share it with a friend, share it with your family members, like bond with people that, you could say, I captured this moment in my life and I want you to see what it was like, what I feel. And that'll give you a lot of enjoyment in itself. I know with myself, like if I see something I used to do, or if I see something that I do when I was like a little kid, or I see something that even I do now, I show my wife, I show my family, my brothers. I'm like, remember we used to do that, or this is something I did, and it's really neat to end up coming full circle with that, and then maybe they enjoy it, and you see the joy in them, or maybe show your kids if you have kids. You know, it really makes you to feel like you're helping somebody enjoy that childhood. You're bringing someone to that joy that you are experiencing and you had. So make sure you share all these things. That's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. But overall, like these are just some ideas you can do, but there's so many ideas of things that people did as a kid that I probably didn't do as a kid, and that you can do some research and look back at your childhood and see what makes your childhood so great, what has made you have a good time with playing with certain things or doing certain things, and just look back at that and then see what you come up with, and um, go back and look at them and have some fun. So thank you for watching Clutch Entertainment today. Hopefully you got some activities out from what I talked about. And if you have any questions or want to state anything that you used to do as a child, leave in the comment section below, and be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. So thank you for watching Clutch Entertainment today, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.